Well, today we're going to continue looking at the battles. A lot of battles we're going to go through. And I'm going to start off again so we always be reminded who the enemy is. And who is the enemy? Satan. In fact, 1 Peter tells us what? What is Satan doing? He right now is traveling to and fro throughout the world, seeing whom he will what? Devour. Destroy, right? He's now, keep in mind, is Satan omnipresent? Meaning everywhere at one time? No. He's a being. He's a created being. He's only one place at one time. Now, he's got a lot of helpers. And he can move fast. And he can be different places. But only one place at one time. But he is going out. He is the enemy, isn't he? He is the father of lies. He's the great deceiver. He is there to destroy and to make us miserable. In fact, his number one desire is to steal from you. And we're going to see this a lot in battles. Why do people go to war? Why do people go and fight in battle? Usually because they want to take something from you, right? And Satan's no different. He is there to take something from you. Now, can he take your salvation if you know Jesus Christ is your Savior? Oh, absolutely not. So he leaves you alone, right? Because just because he can't take your salvation, he says, I guess I can't take anything else. Oh, no. You have to remember, he's there to make us miserable, isn't he? And just like in the garden, what did he want to steal from Adam and Eve? It wasn't their salvation. It wasn't their knowledge of God. What did he want to steal from them? That close relationship. Those many blessings of God. And does God want to do that to us too? Does he want to steal our blessings? Does he want to take away from us our joy? Does he want to take from us our peace? Does he want to take from us love? He wants to take from us the faith that we have. He wants to take these things away from us. He wants us to be miserable. And he will kind of light it up. He'll make it all look nice, all look great, look like it's wonderful, look like it's better. But like that fruit that looks so nice on that tree, that looks so good to eat, what are the things of Satan? They're traps, aren't they? And they are there to make us miserable and to steal the blessings of God. So do we have to be on our guard? How often do we need to be on our guard? All the time, don't we? And as we're going to see today, we not only need to be on guard for ourselves, but we're also here to help others. Because what is the very first battle in the Bible? I found this interesting. I went through the Bible and said, hey, I want to find all the wars, all the battles, and I went through them all. Who could tell me when the first battle mentioned? Now, this isn't the first one in history. I can guarantee you, almost with 100% certainty, that during the time of Noah, there were wars. I'm just guessing. When everybody's doing what is right in their own mind and everybody's being selfish and evil, they're going to war. They're going to battle, right? But it's not. During that time, none are mentioned in the Bible. The very first battle mentioned in the Bible is during the time of whom? Abraham. And there we see a battle. And the thing we're going to see today is this battle really was not his. He wasn't there to keep something of his. He wasn't there to take something back of his. He was there to help somebody else. And that's what I want you to take. If you take nothing else with you today, is that when you think of battles and when you think of wars, it's easy for us to kind of say, okay, this is about me. This is about my battles. This is about my struggles. This is about me fortifying my life. Me battling Satan. Me battling this world. I'm out there with God and we're going to win the battles for me. I want you to remember something. We're also in this for other people, aren't we? We're also there to help other people win their battles. And do you know anybody in your life right now going through a battle? It may not be a physical war either. It may be a spiritual war. It may be a struggle they're going through. It may be a temptation. It may be a physical issue. It may be a financial issue. It may be a relationship. There's so many things in this life that are going to pound us. Guess what? They're pounding other people too. Are other people going through storms? Are other people going through difficulties? And we got to get out of our barricade every once in a while and look up and say, hey, there's other people in trouble too. And it is our job as God's children to help other people too. Yes. When we're called upon, we need to go to battle, don't we? And let's see that battle today. Let's all go to Genesis chapter 14. Genesis chapter 14, we're going to start in verse 1. And every week we're going to start with, let's just read about the battle, okay? Now today we start off with some great names. And I'm terrible with names. I'm terrible with names I know. These, I'm just going to slaughter many of these, and someday I may meet them, and I'll apologize. But I'm going to do the best I can today, okay? In fact, one of them I'm just going to call Cheddar, because I don't like his name at all, and he's the most mentioned. So we're just going to call him King Cheddar, okay? We're going to be okay. Let's start in verse 1. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, so there's one king, Arioch, king of Elasar, Cheddar, anybody want to do better? King of Elam, and Tidal, king of the nations. So we have 4 kings here of actually several nations. And they are powerful, and they have armies, right? What happened? Verse 2. That these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Birsha, king of Gomorrah. Is it that Sodom and Gomorrah? Everybody say it with me. Yes. That Sodom and Gomorrah. This is before... Good morning. Come on in. That's right. Welcome. Yes, Sodom and Gomorrah. Obviously, this is before what happened? They were destroyed. Okay. This is before they were destroyed. And we have here the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah. Also, Shinab, king of Admah, and Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and king of Bela, which is Zoar. Everybody got those? There will be a test right after church today. Name those kings and their kingdoms. No, there won't be. But what happened? Verse 3. All these were joined together in the valley of Siddim, which is in the Salt Sea. Why? Why were all these arrayed? Why were these kings of Sodom and Gomorrah and Zeboim and Zoar, why were they coming up against these other kings like King Cheddar? Why were they coming out? Well, because of this. Verse 4, 12 years they had served Cheddar. And in the 13th year, they rebelled. So they were under these kings. And they decided, we are going to what? Rebel. Why do you rebel? Because they're taking stuff from you, right? They were probably taking some kind of fees and taxes and those kinds of things, taking products from them, probably taking people from them. And they were under their thumb, and they said, we will rebel against them. And in the 14th year came Cheddar and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth Karnaim. Everybody got that? Ashtaroth, by the way, is a king of a goddess, which is very popular in that area for many years. And Zuzims in Ham, and the Emims in Shava Kiriathaim. Aren't you glad we're not doing this on Wednesday night and everybody's got to read? Yeah. We're all struggling here. So, in the 14th year of that oppression, after they had been rebelling against them, they all came out to fight. And in verse 6, and the Horites in their Mount Seir and El Parim, which is in the wilderness, and they returned and came to En-Mishpat, which is in Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites and all the Amorites, and dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. So, all these kings come up, and are they successful? Yes, these kings are rolling. These 4 kings have come against those who rebelled against them. They have come with their armies, and they are rolling through people, and they are defeating the Amorites and the Hittites and all those people, and coming through and killing and destroying and pillaging. That's what they're doing. And then they came to where? Verse 8. And there went out of the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zoar, and they joined the battle with them in the vale of Siddim. So out comes Sodom and Gomorrah. Out comes these 4 kings that come to say, we will stop them. And where do they meet? In Siddim. Now, there's something interesting about Siddim, verse 9. With Cheddar, the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings with 5, and the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits. Now, by the way, if you're going to go to battle, don't pick a slime pit. It seems like a bad footing. It seems like a bad place to go. But there are a bunch of slime pits in the valley, and they said, let's go to battle. And they went to battle, and they are going to what? Lose. Verse 11. Verse 10, let's finish up. And the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the king of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there. And they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. So, we have 4 powerful kings, armies rolling through the area, destroying people after people, taking their stuff, bringing them under submission, and they come to Sodom and Gomorrah, and they go out to fight with them in the valley, and they lose. Therefore, they go forth and they take the goods and the things of Sodom and Gomorrah. All of their wealth they take with them, and they take also what? People. Men, women, children, they take them to be their servants. Right? So are these powerful kings? Are these powerful armies? Is this a formidable foe? Yes. This is a difficult foe, isn't it? Now I want you to note, have we said Abraham's name yet? Yes, only because Lot is Abraham's what? Brother's son. Now you remember the story, don't you? Abraham was called by God to go to a land which he did not know. You must depart from your family. And he took Lot with him. Now, there is a reason he took Lot with him. A lot of people get on him because, oh, why'd you take Lot? Well, he is his brother's son, and his brother died. So he is kind of responsible for Lot. And he treats him very much like a son. And here we have Lot now being taken by these kings. All of their goods, all their things, and taken and being hauled away. And in verse 13 it says, and there came one that had escaped and told Abraham, the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abraham. So somebody who escaped all of this battle came and told Abraham, hey, Lot's been taken and Sodom and Gomorrah are gone. What do they want him to do? We just had 4 cities take their armies out against these kings, and they what? Lost. They were destroyed. So much so they came in and just pillaged their cities and took everything. What is Abraham supposed to do? Now, if you're Abraham, what's your first thought? Okay, it was nice knowing him. That's his problem. And isn't it his problem? Isn't this Lot's problem? Because let's think back a little bit. Who's the one that decided to live in Sodom and Gomorrah? Let's think about that for a minute. Who's the one that got himself in all this trouble? If he hadn't chosen to live down there amongst all those wicked, wicked people, then he wouldn't be in this problem. So really, this is Lot's fault, so let Lot get himself out of it, right? Plus, really, does Abraham have an army? He's just a guy. He's got some servants and things like that, but, how can he go against these armies and get all this stuff back and get his his nephew back? What could he possibly do about this situation? So it's very easy when we think about other people going through battles and say, what? Well, it's their fault and there's nothing I can do about it. Plus, let's face it, if I get Lot loose, where's he going to go back to? He's just going to go back to Sodom and Gomorrah anyways, right? So what's the point? How many here can always find a good excuse, at least in your mind, a good excuse not to help somebody? Not to go in the battle. It's not my battle. It's their fault they're in this mess. It's not my problem. It wouldn't help anyways. There's nothing I can do. I'm just going to sit here and deal with my own problems. And did Abraham have some problems? Oh, yeah. Abraham had just gotten back from Egypt where he did some really stupid stuff. God wasn't too happy with him with that. But God still blessed him. He had drought issues. I'm sure he had servant issues. I'm sure he had all kinds of issues. He had a lot of problems, and he can always come up with lots and lots of problems why we don't have time to help somebody else. But does God want him to? Does God want us to? So on your paper, who are the key participants? Abraham and Lot. What happened? 4 powerful kings came and destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah and took Lot and all of their goods. Abraham was told that they needed help. And Abraham said what? Yes. Yes. I will help. And what happens? Let's keep going. Verse 14. And when Abram heard that his brother, his family, was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318. Massive army, right? Is this a big army? 318 people? And they're trained, though. They're trained servants. But he's going to take 318 men to go out against armed armies who had just pillaged a bunch of cities and taken out entire peoples. And he says, let's go. And he pursued them unto Dan. So he got mounted, and they all went and chased after this army. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them and pursued them unto Hobah, which is in the land in the left hand of Damascus. So he went and he attacked them and he defeated them, and they ran away and he chased after them. He kept going after them all the way from basically what would be North Israel up to Damascus in Syria. And he chased them down and kept beating them and kept defeating them until he got everything back. Verse 16, and he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot and his goods, and the women also, and all the people. So let me ask you something. If God is on your side, who can beat you? Does it matter how big the opponent is? Does it matter how big the battle is? Does it matter how hopeless the situation seems? Abram said, hey, if God is going with me, if this is what God wants me to do, then I'm going to go. I'm going to take everything I have, all 318, and we're going to go after it. I don't care how big they are. I don't care what they've accomplished. I don't care what they do. I'm going to go and I'm going to get this stuff back. And God was with him and blessed him. And was he successful? So what can we learn? Verse 12. Let's go back to that. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, which dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. Let's learn something from this. Is the battle others are going through sometimes our battles too? Yes. And when God makes us aware of the struggles of other people, what does God expect us to do? Help. And again, can we find a lot of excuses? In fact, let's look at the situation. Let's all go back to chapter 13 real quick. How did Lot even end up in this situation? Genesis chapter 13, verse 1. Again, after his little problems down in Egypt, he came back. Genesis 13, verse 1. And Abraham went up out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. So he kind of goes back to his roots. He goes back to where he first came to the land, where he first kind of built an altar unto God, and he goes back to that spot. Okay? And what happened? And Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. God had blessed them so much that they had too many herds, too many servants, they couldn't live together anymore. So they needed to what? Part ways. Verse 7, and there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and herdmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen. And he looks over the land and says, you choose. Lot, you choose. Now, let's face it, who's the elder? Abram is. I mean, he's the one who should be choosing, right? It only seems fair. But he gives it to Lot and says, Lot, you choose. You choose. If you say over there, I'll go over here. If you say over there, I'll go over here. So Lot looked at all the places, verse 10. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere. Before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. What did Lot look for? He looked for water. He looked for lushness. He looked for a place where he could plant his crops and where his cattle could feed. And he looked at the easy way, right? The one that by eyes looked like the better blessing. But who was also there? Bad people. Evil people. Verse 12. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up now thine eyes and look from the place where thou art northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land, the length of it and the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Then Abram removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. So here we have God's saying, I will give it all to you. Don't worry. Now his side didn't look so good. It's a little problematic in the area of water and things like that. But God said, it's going to be okay because I will bless you. Meanwhile, Lot took what? The area of Sodom and Gomorrah. And what happened? Not good. And this happens to us too. Happens to us and other people, doesn't it? We choose what seems to be the more blessed way, seems to be the better way, when in fact, what are we brought into? Captivity. And I want to harp on this point because just because somebody has made bad choices, just because somebody has gotten themselves captive to the things of this world, captive to sin, captive to temptations, just because people have made their life more difficult, does that give us any reason or excuse to say, I will not help them? Because then Abraham could have just sat there and said, it's not my problem. Lot shouldn't have chosen. Lot chose poorly. When he saw that they were wicked, he should have left. When his heart, the Bible says that Lot's heart was tormented daily by the wickedness around him. He should have left. He shouldn't have gotten himself in that. If he had just done what was right, then he wouldn't be in this mess, so it's not my problem. What does God say? Help them. Battle for them. Pray for them. Work with them. Is it going to be easy? No. Look at the foes he had to go against. With his 318 men, he had to go up against armies. But God was with him, wasn't he? And will God be with us when we're helping other people? Will he give us the strength we need to be the help that we need? To show them the love that we need to show them? He will be there. In fact, that's what we learn. Verse 12, we learn that we need to help even if it is their fault. And in verse 14, we learn that God will be with us, won't he? He will help us even if we have limited resources. And then in verse 16, we learn what? God helped. Not only will he help, but he did help, didn't he? And they were successful in bringing all of it back. Now, here comes the question. What happened next? Why should we help people? What's in it for me? Right? Isn't that why we help other people? What's in it for me? Is that why Abraham did that? Abraham said, man, if I go and I help them out, they're very rich down there. Who else was also rich? Abraham. So who here is rich in the things of the Lord? We're fine, aren't we? Is God going to take care of us? Should we go and help other people just because then they will have to help us? Or just because God will bless us with good things? No. In fact, let's see what happened next, verse 17. Genesis 14:17. And the king of Sodom went out to meet Abraham, and after his return from the slaughter of Cheddar, we shall call him, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is in the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed Abraham and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, which has delivered thine enemies into thy hand, and he gave him tithes of all. So here we have the real reason we should do it. Why should we help others? Yeah. Because God blesses us, doesn't He? God helps us, doesn't He? And then we receive the blessings of God. Now, when we say blessings of God, sometimes there's people who get a little confused. You see them on TV sometimes. People get a little confused about what blessings we're talking about. Was it wealth that Melchizedek was talking about? No, it is the true blessings of God. What are the true blessings of God? We see it in the New Testament. What are the fruits of the Spirit? What are the blessings of God? Love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, faithfulness, self-control. These are the true blessings of God, aren't they? The relationship with God, the closest with God, to be a light in this world, to change the world around us. That's why we should do these things, because God has called us to it. He will help us succeed, and then He will bless us with the things we really, really need. Right? And that's what Melchizedek was saying. You are truly blessed. And He even gave him bread and wine. Is that foreshadowing or not? Later on, what is that bread and that wine going to represent? Yeah. The body and blood of Jesus Christ. And even before that, it was going to be part of that communion. So it was going to be part of that Passover service, wasn't it? That they're going to remember every year. I mean, it's going to be part of it. And foreshadowing that this is the true blessings of God, isn't it? That relationship with God that comes through Jesus Christ. That is what we're really fighting for. And we should go out and help others, shouldn't we? And be a witness to the world as we do. Because what happened next? Verse 21. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons and take the goods to thyself. All I want is the people. Which, we rag a lot on Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And how many agree rightfully so? But this was nice. This was a nice thing, wasn't it? I just want the people back. I just want my family back. I want my people back. I want the kids. I want the women. I want everybody back. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the goods. You can have those, Abraham. But what did Abraham say in verse 22? And Abraham said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread, even to a shoe latchet, that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abraham rich. He promised to God that I will seek no earthly gain from these things, because I never want anybody of this earth to say, they made me rich. I am blessed because of them. And is that an important idea that we need to get out there a little more today? Our blessings come from whom? God. But when we do things the earthly way, when we seek earthly gain and those kinds of things, it can become a problem, couldn't it? And Abraham says, I don't even want the perception that I did this for earthly gain. I did this for who? For God. I did this to help somebody else, which is my duty unto God. I did this to be a light unto the world. I did this for them. If God shall bless me in any way He chooses, I will be thankful, but I'm not going to take a dime from you. We got to get that in our head here too, don't we? Why would we help other people? Because of what they can do for us? Because of what gains we could get from it? Or we do it because it is right? And God is in it. In fact, he did take a little something. Not for himself, though. Look at verse 24. Save only that which the young men have eaten. Because I don't know if you noticed this. Yeah, young men get hungry. Yeah, especially when they're out fighting and stuff like that. And I have a feeling that wasn't a small amount. So let the young men eat. We'll take that, which is fine, and the portion of the men which went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. So there were other people. See, when he got that 318 together, that was his servants, but some of those were men also of the people. They weren't Jews like him. They were not his family. And he said, if they want to take a portion, that's fine. I'm not going to prevent them. I just want to make sure everybody understands I'm not taking anything. Not even a thread of what is the blessing. So we can't necessarily get on other people because they want blessings of this world. They don't know better. But should we know better? Yes, we should. So, what are the keys to victory here? Well, it's very simple. Who are we to trust? So let's face facts. We have our own battles, don't we? We have our own struggles. And they are daily. How easy is it to just focus on ourselves? By the way, I don't recommend that. Because if all you do is focus on your problems, how big do they seem? Everybody take your hand and go like this. How big is your hand? Seems huge! So you put it out here, what does it look? I had longer arms, let's go way over there, what does it look? Smaller and smaller and smaller, right? If all we ever do is just focus on our own problems, our own issues, our own battles, our own struggles, they will consume us. God says what? Look up. Look around. See the battles others are going through too. And when He calls upon you to intervene, when He sends that messenger that says, hey, Lot's couldn't take it. When you hear them talking and they say, I need some help, I'm struggling here. What should you do? Oh, my problems are way too big. No, I can't help at all. I can't get past my hands. Right? Or He wants to drop those and say, I will help. But sometimes they look awfully big, don't they? I know people going through some very difficult things. At work, at home, at church, our neighborhood. I know some people going through some very tough battles. Some I've had to go through before, and some I've never been through. And again, it's very easy to say, well, that's their problem. But by bringing us into the situation, what is God telling us? It's our problem too. And we need to help. And it doesn't matter how big it is. It doesn't matter how difficult it is. It doesn't even matter if it's their fault. Which always is an easy one. It's their fault. They're the ones who got themselves captive. They're the ones who got all that. That's not my problem. No. What does God say? If I brought you into this situation, it's now your problem, and I will see you through what? Trust me. See, what about my problems? Trust me. Well, what if I help them and then they get right back into it again? Trust me. Right? The key to victory is what? Trusting who? Trusting God. That if He puts something in your path, and He says go and do it, He will be there with you how long? The whole way. Right? And it's by His strength and His power that we will get through this and we can make an impact. And then don't turn around and say, well, by the way, you owe me. I want a portion. I did that for this. I didn't know, because then we're just getting the same kind of trap they got themselves into, aren't we? So, trust the Lord and then receive His reward. His blessings. Can we do that? It's hard. You know what's harder, I have found? Again, just getting behind our own and fighting our own battles on our own and just saying, I don't have time for anybody else. That's harder. So let the Lord reach out to you. Let the Lord soften your heart. Let the Lord point out where those are in need. Because let's face facts, did Jesus do that? Did Jesus have problems? How about on the cross? Did Jesus have problems? Did he have a battle going on? And when Jesus was on the cross, did he just bury himself in his hands and say, oh, it's just about me? You remember when he did on the cross? He looked up, didn't he? And who did he see? He saw his mother. And said, somebody's got to take care of my mother. John, you take care of my mother. He looked at all the people and said what? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they... He saw the soul. He saw the anger. He saw the problems, didn't he? And then when he's off the cross, when he was risen again, did he come to Peter and say, hey, you deserve everything you get for denying me 3 times. I'm not going to help you at all. No, what did he say? I forgive you, Peter. Let's get to work. We need to give people a break, don't we? We need to open up our heart. We need to be willing to join others in battle, knowing that God is there for us. Amen?